Welcome everybody to Real Talk here on Shelbyville now. It is Tuesday afternoon, slightly after 4 o'clock.
June the 10th.
June the 10th. We're glad everybody is going to tune in here and listen to some real talk. And we're going to talk some local stuff. We're going to be off our national politics, but just as a quick recap of what's happened, the LA riots are back. And we've got our military out there trying to settle that down.
The Marines were called in today, so it's a mess there. It's burning, it's smoldering. It's a mess, and we just hope that cooler heads prevail in this situation. But it seems like you leave things up to the local authorities and the state authorities to kind of squash these things, but they're almost stoking the fire. And so that's when the federal authorities have to come in and protect.
I think the federal authorities, whoever that might be, comes in, let ICE do their job, get the ones they need to get deport them, then rope the place off and let them burn it down. And if they're going to burn their own home down, well, you can't stop them.
Right, exactly. And once again, I mean, we've said it a million times, they're not just coming dragging people in cars. It's criminals, it's child molesters, it's people that need to go. So,
and you got idiots like Gavin Newsom out there saying that it's Trump's fault that there's violence. Well, the violence started way before he got there. When you got law officers trying to do their job and terrorists attacking them, you got to stop.
If you just let them do their job and let the courts work it out. But they want to cause a big stink. They want to get in front of the cameras. They want to make a splash. You know how the liberals work. So everybody knows this story. We've been there, done that.
Yeah.
Here we go again.
All right, but we're going to jump off onto some local stuff. But before we do, we want to thank our sponsor, Norris Plumbing.
Yes.
Call Jay. He can take care of all your plumbing needs, whether it's a busted pipe, a new water heater, or running a water line, or fixing a faucet. 24/7 service. You give them a call, and they'll take care of you. Let's stop and hear a word from them, and we'll be right back.
Norris Plumbing, your go-to source for licensed and insured plumbing services. Emergency services when you need it. Norris Plumbing. Call us at 931-703-5915.
All right. Again, thank you, Norris Plumbing, for sponsoring the show. Bo, let's talk about some local stuff. Okay. We were just talking about this, and Josh mentioned this the other day in our pre-show preparation. The pre-planning meeting for the city of Shelbyville for the last 2 meetings now, it's been virtually not much to talk about. No new developments coming.
No new rezonings, no new developments.
Yeah. So my question is this to you, being attached to the real estate business and you out there doing appraisal and stuff. What is happening? Has development slowed down in the city?
Well, a short answer for your question is yes, it has. Not to a total standstill degree. You will still see some things building, but let's just face it, here a few years ago, things were being built right when subdivisions were approved from the planning commission. Yeah. Boom, they were going up. There have been a few that have been approved by the planning commission, and they have not started building right now. I think that there's a lot of wariness, market wariness, kind of uncertainty that's going on here. You've seen a lot of price drops here recently, 10% price drops, 5%. On many of the newer, I would say spec type houses, your 1,200 to 1,600 square foot ranch type houses, vinyl. You're still kind of in your newer existing houses, you're still in the 300 to 320 range, depending on quality. Some of them higher, some lower. But yes, there has been a light planning, as far as planning and what's come before the planning commission. The last 2 months have been light. Now, does this happen sometimes throughout the year? Do we have light agendas? Yes, we do. But typically it's in November and December.
Right. When the weather starts to get bad, you don't see building happening as much.
Right.
But here in June, May and June, that's prime time.
It's prime time. And this is usually when people are getting in there and wanting to rezone and get this approved. Now, there might be things, this might just be an out of the ordinary couple months. It's to be determined. But as it sits, the last 2 months, things are moving slow, and I feel it's a little bit of uncertainty. I know days on market are higher than they were just 6 months ago.
Do you think that people maybe back when Trump got into office, and let's say in February, March, people were starting to expect and anticipate a rate drop in interest rates?
I do.
And it hadn't happened.
It hadn't happened, and those that were kind of watching and waiting, they're still watching and waiting, because the market has not increased in what it has in levels that it has in the past 5 years. I mean, you could go from 22 to 23 and see probably a 10 to 15 increase. You could
10 to 15%,
10%, 15% increase.
Yeah.
Now you're pretty much seeing a flat line with no increase, and interest rates going nowhere. Although there have been some threatening remarks from President Trump to kind of get that thing going. I think Jerome Powell has financially the most responsible interest in mind. I think that Trump's kind of popping him and hitting him, but I think that
he's not falling for the pressure there. I don't think. But here's the thing: his argument is that if we reduce rates, it's going to increase inflation. Well, the tariffs are going to increase inflation big time. I mean, it's like going to be double-digit type stuff happening if we don't get a trade deal worked out with the world. Okay,
and I don't know if that's going to happen. I feel like it's not going to happen. I mean,
here we are, June the 10th, and July the 9th is our last day before all those tariffs that he threw out are going to go shooting through the roof, and no deals are on the table. We're talking, but no deals.
And this has been going on since March.
Yeah. All right, so interest rates might be a problem. And honestly, historically, we still have low rates.
Oh, yeah. Now, before even I was born, or around the time in the early 80s, I've heard horror stories of, 17 to 24% interest rates on top of the principal.
Would you believe right now that 17 to 24% is the typical interest rates for credit cards? And people are paying those?
Well, they do that. You're right. They're maxed out all over the board.
Okay, so here's my question. If you're worried about a 4% versus 5% rate on a home loan, why ain't you worried about the 17 and 24% rate on your credit cards?
Oh, because that's for my stuff. That's for my stuff. Okay. I need my stuff, David.
I got you. The stuff is what's got you in trouble.
That's right. That's exactly
right.
And
it's why you're worried about your interest rate on your home. So it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's not the answer to no money, a credit card.
No, it's called less money.
That's right.
Yeah, less money.
Less money minus money.
All right, so let's just suppose that we go 3, 4, or for 5 months, we see this stagnation take place. There still seems to be enough inventory in the market right now to supply what's being needed.
And maybe that's the reason, because like I just mentioned, there's been several subdivisions that have been approved, and the supplies is basically there. They just hadn't put roads in and got the infrastructure going yet. Now that'll be years down the road, but we might be in just at a point to where new subdivisions are getting ready to start and old ones are finishing up, and there's not really a lot going on. But I do feel that there is still uncertainty there. I mean, you can definitely tell that we're in a change. It's definitely a change that we've had the last 2 or 3 months, and I'd like to come back with some numbers. Maybe
later in the week. Let's do that. Let's elaborate a little bit more on our general economic situation that we've got. And this does get outside of the local area because it's a national thing. It's a world thing at the moment. But if you take a look at the price of silver, Bo, you and I have talked about the price of silver, the price of gold. Typically, when the price of silver goes up, that's an indication of rocky times ahead financially, because people are hedging themselves for a collapse in the market or a dip in the market.
That's right.
And I'll just tell you this, the weak dollar has affected our business because we looked at the British pound dollar exchange rate. It's up to 1.39. And just not long ago, it's down in the low 1.3s. Okay, that affects our prices that we get from England. Okay,
yes, it does.
And that exchange, so the dollar's getting weaker, and now you start to see precious metals. Silver jumped up to $37.
It did,
and about this time last year, we were buying silver at like 26 and 28.
Yes,
and now
I've still got that silver too. I'm thinking about selling, but hey, it might go up.
No, it's going to go.
Yeah, I think we might see 40 to 45.
There's people predicting $400. That because it's been manipulated, and it's been all these industries that use silver have been stockpiling it, and they've been manipulating the price. But the manipulation can only go so far. If it runs out and there's no supply, that price is going to spike, and we're getting close to a spike. They're talking like,
I mean, we're at historical high right now.
Yep,
we're even at $36, $37. So, wow,
at the highest price probably at 14 years, I think, right now.
That's
that's an indication, though, Bo, that I don't expect to see interest rates dropping.
No,
not unless Powell gets fired and he puts his Basant guy in.
That's always an indication. I know on our last little hiccup we had in the economy, remember silver, it didn't move.
Right.
And you made the comment, something's
not right.
Yeah. And it wasn't, it wasn't, but this, so it really surprised me the other day when you sent me a message, and I keep up with usually, and I saw $37 an ounce, and I thought,
this is crazy.
But that really tells. It tells. I mean, there are indications in the market to look for, and precious metals are one of those.
Yeah, and I always there's a guy I can't think of his name, but he has a like a coin store up in the Northeast, and he puts out a daily video, and I was watching him night before last, and he said we don't have silver, we can't get anything.
Wow.
And if you go to JM Bullion and some of the online sites, there are certain junk coins they're completely out of.
They're out.
You can't buy dimes and quarters now of any of the old stuff. So people have been stockpiling this. It's gone.
Just a month ago, I did buy some of the $50 junk, and they're already $50 higher than I gave that. Yeah. So I mean, that's crazy, but it's very volatile. It's usually pretty stable, but wow, I'm kind of hopeful. Yeah. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, but if it's going up, Bo, that's a shaky times we're ahead.
But that would drive up other commodities that have silver, I guess, in it. I mean, electronics.
Your price of silver is going to increase there. Plus, the manufacturing in China and India, where our electronics are coming from, those tariffs are going to jack it up. So, if you don't have an up-to-date phone, I suggest you up-to-date your phone right away before all this hits.
For sure.
Because it's happening soon.
For sure.
It's going to happen soon.
We'll definitely keep our eye out on that.
Yeah, and some of the stuff is already hitting the Walmart shelves, like we talked about for the last month. Some of that's already come up. But how does that affect us locally? Mm-hmm. I think maybe people are starting to feel the crunch just a little bit more.
I think so. Hey, look, I was out and about last night, and I know it was a Monday evening, not a lot going on. But there was nobody hardly out. Restaurants were, maybe people are really just pulling back.
Well, people can't afford to go out and eat, Bo.
I know it. It's two people, $25, $30, and that's fast food,
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's more than that, I guess.
Yeah, it could be. It could be.
Yeah,
but that used to be $15.
Yeah, I think everybody right now is watching their money. And I always watch, what markets are doing. And there were people talking about defaulting. I watch this one guy in particular. He keeps his finger on the pulse of what's problematic right now in the country. And there are people that are defaulting on their automobile loans because they financed vehicles for 10 years, paid $100,000 for it. Don't even understand they paid $100,000 for these big SUVs, and their payments are $1,200, $1,300, $1,400 a month. They can't pay them no more, so they're just not going to pay them and let them get repossessed.
That's the payment generation. They how much? I don't care how much.
How much a month? Yeah, what's the payment amount? If you're thinking, what's the payment when you start to buy a car? You don't need to be buying a car.
No, because they can really it can be all it can be all interest and no principal. They can really get you there. So beware.
There's so many people though that think that car is a status symbol, so they want the biggest and best, and they stretch themselves, but they'll skip a meal to have their coffee and drive their fancy automobile.
Me, I think of an automobile as from point A to point B.
Yeah.
If I can get there,
that's it.
A pretty good amount of time.
Yep.
I can be a little comfortable. I like AC.
Get there without getting out and pushing.
That's right.
Okay. All right. So these $5,000 to $12,000 cars, that range right there.
Yeah.
That'll be a hot commodity because that's what people need to be buying if they can't afford a payment.
I love that.
They need to be able to pay cash and just go buy the thing.
Yeah. And then when it's gone, you can put a motor in, or you can.
Yeah, and it leaves you some room in your pocket to do the repairs that can come along with that vehicle. But it's going to happen.
You got to maintain tires, brakes.
But brakes on mine. There's another thing I wanted to kind of ask about too. There's several commercial developments that you see, like Dutch Brothers. They got opened up.
They're open.
And you saw Seven Brew.
Yep.
How fast it went up. Starbucks is tearing up the dirt, and they'll be up before you know it. What's happened on our hotel Hampton Inn? Do you think that they've looked at the economics and just backed off and said, let's wait a little while?
I think I can't
it's
imagine.
Speculation on our part.
Yeah, it is speculation on our part, but I think that the economics haven't changed a whole lot since they bought that. I would think that they would have made that decision before they even thought about coming here. Look, they're going to be full for probably 10 days, and that's going to be great for them. But I don't know if they've if they know if it'll succeed, because there have been no plans given in that I've seen in the city or anywhere. We did a little, I think they did some site prep, maybe work or something like that. But that I think they announced that maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah,
close to 2 years ago. I don't know. I don't see it. I think Shelbyville needs. I think Shelbyville could use a hotel right now. Right now, we need things bringing more people into Shelbyville on a weekly basis.
Well, here's my question. A hotel does not bring a person to a city.
No.
Something else brings them where there's a need for the hotel.
Yes.
So here's my question. Do they look at the data and say, right now, there's just not enough people coming in from out of town needing lodging? And here's what I keep hearing. We're going to need hotels if we're going to have these things.
Yes.
Well, let's have these things and actually see if a hotel sees it's worth doing, because they're going to do a study and they got to reach a certain occupancy rate or they're not profitable.
It's a wait and see thing, and that's sometimes can be dangerous. I think that if we can get, like, we've got the Cooper Steel Arena, and they've been having events every week. I've kept my eye on it, but the crowds
they're driving it here from a
but and they're
50-mile radius,
and they're not that full unless it's some big event. If they could get a big event like once or twice a month in here, I think something like that.
Here's my question: are we going to get an event in here where somebody will drive up here from Florida or from Georgia where they have to spend the night? Or are we going to get people from Fayetteville, Lewisburg, Tullahoma, maybe even some from Murfreesboro and Columbia, and just drive in here? Probably don't even eat. They just come to the event and then drive back home. There's not a need for a hotel.
We will, but it would be nice to establish maybe the ones, maybe a few counties over, that maybe the husband, wife, or family could come and go to an event and then stay the night, something like that. I think you're going to get a few from out of state, but the majority is just like you said. They'll be from around here. We are what we are. We are who we are. We've got a few hotels. We don't have many to choose from. It would be nice to have a newer hotel, but you don't just build hotels just for the heck of it. You got to do it for a reason.
They're going to do a study and see if it's worth them doing. They're smart. They know what they're doing. So
yes.
I'm going to take it that since they're not tearing up dirt like Starbucks is, we have a bigger need for coffee than we do for overnight lodging,
and
obviously.
It blows my mind. I mean, how much more can we take?
Right, maybe it'll come eventually. Okay, here we got Marie Motlow Harmon. Some of your corporate folks are going to Tullahoma, who is building more.
Yes, I
corporate
agree.
Folks, as far as businesses, I'm assuming.
There are there. And
all right, going to Tullahoma, who is building more, I guess.
Tullahoma. They've got more.
What are they building?
Look, they've got the.
I know they're doing more. They got more retail outlets.
They've got more retail. They do, but they've got a lot more nicer residential development. Some of it higher density. Some of it like a R1 type, a lower density. But they're quality homes. There's several of theirs coming.
But here's my question pertaining to her comment. Okay, I don't know if she's talking about businesses building or residential building. We were talking about hotels, and maybe she's commenting back before we started talking about hotels. But you look at Tullahoma; they do have a Hampton Inn over there.
They do.
What is the drawing card to Tullahoma?
Tullahoma's a different. They've got I would say it's almost out of the box. You almost don't compare it because, first of all, you've got Manchester, Tullahoma, and.
But here's my.
But then you've got the AEDC. You've got that right there is the total difference.
Think maybe
you got people from out of state living there. You got people, and they have stuff inside, but they want little nicer stuff because they're from other places. You got their family come in. There's a different fabric.
Okay, when you say
there.
their family come in to spend the night in a hotel, need a place, good place to stay.
Yes.
Okay.
And
all right. So we really don't have that.
We don't have that. We can't. It's not a. Now Tullahoma's a nice, good southern town, but it's not that old. I mean, it's not as old as Shelbyville is. They don't have kind of a square. It's a different feel. It's a different type of town.
Okay, but I don't see people showing up to Tullahoma or Shelbyville going on vacation. So it's got to be something like what you're talking about. Family visiting, that are from out of state. So we don't have that here. But I don't see us having a drawing card other than the Tennessee Walking Horse Celebration.
Yeah, no.
They're in August. I don't see us having anything. You got the Bell Buckle Trade Craft Fair, but people drive from all over, and I think they're going to spend the night in Murfreesboro.
I think
and
you
drive
get
down.
more people that would want to go. They go to Lynchburg, to Jack Daniels. You would probably get more of those, but they may stay in Tullahoma. You would get some of those. I think that's the biggest call. I mean, I go to Moore County to Lynchburg maybe 2 or 3 times a week or a month, just depending on my workload. Right. And every time I go during the day, it doesn't matter. It is a packed parking lot, and there are all different states there. You know, I think that they have some type.
She was talking about hotels. So, yeah, they do have a better grade of hotel, and I'm not knocking any we have. I mean, we got Microtel and Best Western as our 2 probably top.
Oh yeah.
And if you throw a Hampton Inn, that ups it upgrades good. No doubt. That's one of the best, most consistent chains in the world, as far as I can tell. But she's saying 4 plus hotels that are new. Okay. So what is drawing people for our overnight stay in Tullahoma that we're not doing here? I mean, we've got the arena sitting over here. I don't know.
Maybe they're skydiving. I don't know.
That's not a good thing these days.
Well, not if they had a bad crash yesterday, but thankfully nobody was hurt.
Well,
I think there was another one today in Murfreesboro that nobody was hurt. Yeah,
you're kidding me?
No, I heard about it on the radio.
I hadn't seen that. Well, we'll have to check that out.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody. I think that it was a safe landing, kind of a soft landing in trees.
Yeah.
So I mean, we've had 2 with no one hurt, but
yeah.
No, that happened pretty close to us, and that's the sky. I always like looking to my right when I'm going into Tullahoma.
What's happening with all of our air traffic?
I don't know.
I mean, that wasn't air traffic control issues. That was pilot error or faulty equipment or something.
I would say so.
Equipment error.
Yeah.
Okay, and you see, you got a lot of these planes flying in the air that are made in the 1960s too.
I know it. And then that you know what can help come to my mind is we're going to have that flight school here, and I just hope that that.
They're getting a lot of new stuff, though.
I know, and that's going to be great because I mean, when there is more air traffic, it is a concern, and it's something you got to think of, and not just say, "Oh, it doesn't exist." It doesn't exist.
We don't have an airport anymore. We've got a flight training school.
Yeah,
we don't have an airport.
Yeah,
so Tullahoma's going to get our actual airport stuff. I'm thinking over there, but that's another story for another day. And we've talked long enough, Bo. But let's keep an eye on this development situation. And get some numbers. We're going to come back and talk about some numbers at the end of the week.
Yes, for sure.
Thanks for your participation,
Marie.
Yes. Thanks for everybody watching. We're going to be back later this week with maybe some numbers to update things with. And we, again, thank Norris Plumbing for sponsoring our show today. Yes. And we'll see you later this week.
See you.